Welcome back to Play the Game HQ. I'm Daniel, and this is Call of Duty the board game. It is coming to Kickstarter soon from Arcane Wonders, who helped sponsor this video, and it's based on the Call of Duty video game from Activision. Now, everything you see here is an early demo prototype, so all of the artwork and anything you see is subject to change. Now, we have a lot of content coming out for this game. We have a 3-player round-robin tournament, so that's 3 1v1 games that culminate with a 2v1 deathmatch game. We also have a 4-player team battle, a 2v2 team battle, and a 4-player free-for-all deathmatch that we're gonna have for you. So in this video, we're gonna give you just an overview of how the gameplay works, go through all of the airstrikes, the items that you have, the weapons, the characters, and then if you wanna see that gameplay in action, we'll leave links below to where you can find all of those. Again, just because you've seen one video does not mean you have seen the game in its entirety, because each one of those games played out so differently based on the player that was playing and their individual play style. You have your spray and pray players, and you have your players that are a little more methodical, and when those clash, it creates just a lot of fun and a lot of chaos. During the game, each player is going to have a character, a weapon, a pool of dice, a deck of cards, some items, and their planning map. Now, we have 4 characters here. They are the 4 characters from the 2 core boxes that are going to be on the Kickstarter. The first core box is going to be General Shepard and Ghost, and the second core box is going to be Makarov and Price. We have their minis for those. This is Ghost, this is Shepard, this is Makarov, and this is Price. And the weapons that they have are interchangeable. You can move them around depending on just how you want to play, because each weapon plays a little bit differently. They are better at, some are better at long range, some are better at short range, and your weapon also determines how many cards you can have in your hand. So if you're using the AK-47, you can have a 4-card hand. With the P90, you only have 3. With the M4A1, you can have 4, and with the M60, you can have 5. Now, these are 2-sided, so this is the basic side, and this is probably your first game. You're going to want to start on the basic side. It makes the gameplay a little bit simpler. On the advanced side, you add in sprint tokens, you add in reload tokens, and you add in ADS, and we're going to talk about all of that as we get going. Your weapon also dictates your dice pool. So for the M4A1, you're going to have 5 red, 5 blue, and 5 green dice, and you're going to fight with 7, and all of these weapons fight with 7 dice. But depending on the weapon you have, you may have a slightly different dice pool, and that is going to adjust potentially how you're going to play the game during the combat because of the dice that you have available to you. Now, we will walk through how the dice work and how the combat works with those dice in just a minute. But for now, let's talk about the flow of the game. The game is played over rounds, and each round is divided into 2 parts. You have your planning phase where you're going to plan out your movement on this board right here. Now, typically, you would have a screen up in front of your board because your movement is hidden from the other players. But for this video, we're going to take the screen off so you can see better what I'm doing, and so there's not a big shadow on the board. But your screen will stay up the entire game, even when you're executing your movement, because you may have traps, maybe a proximity mine hidden on the board, or you may have an airstrike planned out or something like that that you don't want the other player to see. Now, each core box is going to come with 2 characters, so at its core, this game is a head-to-head battling game. At the beginning of each round, each player is going to have their screen up, and they're going to plan out their movement on their planning map here. And the movement is planned out using these tokens. So I spawn in right here, and each player has a spawn point for their initial spawn, but you can spawn into different places after you are eliminated. So I'm going to start right here on my map, shown by this red meeple, and I'm going to plan out my movement 1 move at a time, 4 moves total each planning phase. Now, you'll notice these markers have a point on them. That's because they're directional. You're not just planning where you're going to move, you're also planning where you're going to face when you move. So I may want to point this way so I'm facing down this line. For instance, if I moved here, I could face this way or I could face this way. And the reason that matters is because when you enter combat, you get a bonus if you're on target, if you're actually facing the other character. And line of sight in this game is very simple. It is colored lines on the map. There's no rulers, there's no strings, there's no calculations. If you are connected by the same color line, then you are within line of sight of the other players. So if Ghost was here and Price ended up right here, they would be within line of sight because of this blue line. Even though they are multiple nodes away, they are within line of sight because of that blue line right there. So you are going to plan out your movement, and you do have the option to slot in some items, to use different items and different tactics and things like that. But we'll get to those in just a minute. So once you have your movement planned out on your map, once both players have their movement planned out, they're going to execute it one step at a time. Now, I don't have a map for Ghost, but let's say that let's execute General Shepard's movement, and we'll just do some movement also for Ghost. So let's say on move 1, Shepard moves there and is facing that way, and Ghost moves there and is facing that way. And then on move 2, they move to there. Now, they are within line of sight of each other because they are connected by that colored line. They weren't before, but now they are. So at this point, battle starts immediately. Now, when combat starts, we're going to check to see if players are facing each other. Both players are, so they would get the on-target bonus, which is tracked on your combat board right here. Now, there are different ways that you can do damage during combat. You can do damage with red dice, you can do damage with your card, and you do damage based on this track right here. So because we are on target, we're going to move up 2 spaces on this track, which is going to give us 4 damage at the end of the combat. Now, you do also have the ability to move down that track if you're caught sprinting. If you're going up a ladder, you would move down the track based on this icon right here. The minus sign moves you down. If you're caught reloading your weapon, things like that. You also may be in some scenarios or have a card that gives you an extra plus sign, or you might be up here on the high ground facing that way and being on target that way. That's going to move you up the track. So the track is a little bit of a tug-of-war to give you either a damage penalty or a bonus based on where you land on that track. So you're going to resolve the track, and then you are going to get your dice pool ready and select your cards. Each player has a set of cards. Now, there is a small deck of basic cards that are just damage and actions, and then there is an advanced deck that has some advanced abilities at the bottom. They have some tactics. Some of those cards you can spend not during combat, but during your movement to use a specific tactic on that card. So you're going to select the card that you want to use, and we'll just, for simplicity's sake, we'll select this one right here. We'll use Swift Attack, and you're going to prepare your dice pool. Now, you'll notice at the bottom of this card that it has 4 different numbers that match the colors of your track right here. When you enter combat, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to see how far away you are. We are 2 nodes away, so we will do combat on this top track right here. So 2 nodes, if we were 1 or fewer nodes away, we would do combat there. 2 or more, you're going to do combat on the top. So we're going to start on this reticle icon and place our cube there. And then we are going to use other abilities, other things to move ourselves up that track, primarily dice, but also some cards will move you up that track and maybe move the other player down that track. Now, the dice, there are 3 different kinds of dice that you're going to choose from. You have your blue dice, which are your aim. Those are going to move your cube up this track. You have green dice, which are agility. Those are your defense dice. Those are going to move the other player down their track. And then you have red dice, which are just aggressive. They are just damage. I have a 7 dice combat dice pool, which is shown by my weapon board. So let's say that I take 3 blue, 2 green, and 2 reds. I would roll those dice. And just for example, let's say that Ghost rolled 3 green, 2 blue, and 2 red. So to resolve this, I'm going to count up my blues. So I had 4, 5, 6, 7. And I also had a reticle icon right there. So I have a total of 8 that I would move up this track. So you move up based on the blue. But Ghost also rolled his green dice really, really good. So he had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green dice. You'll also notice that he has cover right there, which is going to give him 2 of those shield icons in addition to what he rolled. So I rolled 7 plus my card moves me up 8, but Ghost rolled 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm actually going to move 1 space down on this track because it's my blue dice minus his green dice and any other shield icons that he has. And then we are also going to count lightning bolts, which is first strike. So I have 1, 2, 3 lightning bolts plus these 2, that's 5. And Ghost has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lightning bolts. Ghost rolled really well this round. Whoever has the most lightning bolts, that is first strike. That is fastest to the trigger. And they're going to move 1 space up this track for first strike. At that point, we're going to check which color we're on. I'm on white. That gives me 2 damage. If you are ever moved all the way down to this black spot right there, that is a critical miss. That means you don't get any battle points for your cards, and it completely negates your red dice. No matter how well you roll the red dice, if you are pushed down into this first black box right there, then you have a critical miss and your red dice are completely canceled. It's devastating. So in this scenario, I'm on white. That would be 2 plus my 2 from the red is 4 plus the 4 right there. So that is 8 total combat points. I can tell you for a fact that is not a good roll. So the 2 players would take their totals, we would compare them, and whoever has the highest number wins the combat. The other player is eliminated and they will spawn in the next round. So 8 to, let's assume, because this was a terrible roll, that Ghost would have been on target. So Ghost would have had 4, Ghost had first strike, so Ghost would have had 7, would have moved up one more and had 7, plus his 4 is 11 to my 8. So regardless of what Ghost had for his card, Ghost would have won that combat. There's no way that I could have won it. So Ghost is going to win that combat. I'm going to be eliminated, and I'm going to get to spawn in the next round. So that's combat. You are going to pick your card. You're going to pick your dice pool. You're going to roll your dice. You're going to move up the track for blue dice, down the track for the other player's green dice. You're going to compare the color that you're on that track to the color on your card. You're going to take that number, you're going to add it to your red dice, and you're going to add wherever you are on that track, and that is your combat total. I know that seems like a lot of numbers, but it's really card, track, red dice. That's how you calculate your total, and whoever has the highest number wins. Now, there is the opportunity, even if you lose combat, to wound your opponent. If you lose, but you are within 5 points of the other player, then you wound that player. You would put a wound token right there, and that player is now wounded going into the next battle. A wound token always comes in at 2 wounds, and at the end of each round goes down 1. And if you ever have 3 wounds, you are automatically killed, whether that's from a grenade or you win another battle but are within 5, you would take another wound and you would lose. So if you ever get wounded when you already have a wound token on your board, you're automatically going to be eliminated, whether or not you won that combat. And combat is always 100% of the time going to result in 1 player being eliminated. 2 players never walk away from combat. Now, there is a chance that we go different places on the map and we end the round never getting within line of sight, at which point we would just reset and go through that planning stage again from wherever we are and continue executing that simultaneous movement until we're in line of sight, at which point combat happens. Now, because Ghost won this battle and we entered line of sight on movement 2, that means that Ghost has the option now to either stop or fully finish his movement. You can't partially complete your movement, but you can fully complete your movement if you want to, or you can stop where you were when combat occurred. So let's say that Ghost did want to finish his movement. That gives us a good chance to talk about the flag right here. If you are playing with the flag objective, then you can gain points by controlling the flag at the end of the round. You do get 1 point for eliminating the other player, but you also can gain points by controlling the flag at the end of the round. So let's say Ghost moved 3 and 4 and controlled the flag. Now Ghost would get 2 points for this round for controlling the flag at the end of the round and for eliminating the other player. And in the game modes that we have available to us, those are the 2 ways that you can score points: eliminating players and controlling the flag. Now, the flag doesn't move with the player. The flag stays right there on that objective. So it's not like a capture the flag where you can grab the flag and just run away with it. You still have to defend this position and keep the other player from moving onto that position and taking control of the flag. So it's not a true capture the flag. It's more a King of the Hill style game. So at the end of the round, players would go back to their planning board, plan out their next 4 movements, and execute the same thing until you either get to the target score if you're playing to a certain score, or until you get through just however you choose to end the game, whether it's a certain score, a certain number of rounds. Each round follows that same structure. Plan your movement, execute 1 movement at a time or 1 action at a time until you get within line of sight, go through combat. Now, let's talk about all of these tokens over here. In addition to just your basic combat, your dice and your cards, you also have items available to you and different abilities that you can use. With the advanced weapons, you have reload tokens. Whenever you are eliminated, you automatically draw back up to your hand size, but if you survive, you don't get to draw back up at the end of the round. As long as you are alive, you have to use a reload token to draw more cards. And to do that, you're just gonna slot it into the action marker that you want to do that on. So if you wanted to reload on your first move, or let's say the second move, you would put your reload marker there, and on that movement, you would draw 4 cards back. Now it is on that specific movement, so if you entered combat on movement 1, you haven't reloaded yet, you don't get to draw back up your cards. And if you get caught reloading, you might notice there's 2 minus signs on there. If you're caught reloading, that's gonna move you down this track here. Now we have 2 items that we were given. We have the frag grenade and the proximity mine. We also have the Magnum 44, but that is specific to General Shepard, so we'll talk about that in a minute. The proximity mine and the frag grenade are items that you can use during an action, and to use them, you slot the item marker into the action that you want to use them, and then you use the token to show where they are on the map. Now the frag grenade, you deploy within 2 nodes, and if the enemy is on that node, then they're eliminated. If they're within 1 space of that node, then they take a wound token. The proximity mine is similar, except that's a persistent item. That is going to stay on the board until it is detonated. Even if you die, even if you're eliminated, a proximity mine that you place is going to stay there. So let's say I wanted to use the item here and place the proximity mine on this node. This is gonna stay here until it is detonated. So I might place it here to protect this side of the map if Ghost comes around on this side to get to the flag. And the proximity mine kills a player that steps on it and deals damage to adjacent nodes. Now, the proximity mine is one of the key reasons. It's things like that, those persistent items are one of the key reasons that you leave your shield up the entire time, because I might place that mine on the map, but the other player doesn't know it's there until they enter that space and are informed that they just blew up. Now we also have Airstrike and the RCXD. Those are kill streak bonuses. Your advanced side of your player board has a kill streak track, and every time you get a kill, you move up 1 spot on that track. It doesn't matter if you're eliminated, it doesn't go back down when you die. Anytime you eliminate the other player, you're gonna move up on that kill streak track. And once you have enough kill streak points, you can use a kill streak card. So these both cost 3 points to use. I have an airstrike, which similar to an item, I would slot that into the node or the movement action that I wanna use it on. And then I would place the airstrike token wherever I want to do that. The airstrike can be deployed to any space on the map. So if I think Ghost is up here, even though I'm really far away, I could place that there thinking that he's gonna go up there and kind of go into Overwatch. The airstrike eliminates any player within 1 node of the target and deals damage to players 2 nodes away. The RCXD is a lot of fun. The RCXD is another kill streak bonus. And to use that, you deploy the RCXD within 1 node of where you are, and then you cancel all of your other movements. So if I deployed the RCXD on movement 1, I would cancel all of my other movement. I would deploy the RCXD 1 space away, and then at the end of each other action, so action 2, 3, and 4, I get to let the other player move, and then move the RCXD, maybe stalk them. Basically, I'm driving my little remote control car with explosives on it closer and closer to the other player. If I get it on the same spot as them, they explode, I get a kill, and I get a point. So both of those kill streak bonuses are very powerful and strategic in how you want to use them. Really, both of them are beneficial, in my experience, when the other player is already on the map because you have some idea of where they're going. They're not as powerful when you've eliminated the other player and they're spawning back in because you have no idea where they're going to spawn. Now, speaking of spawning, the spawning rules are very simple. You can spawn anywhere on the board as long as you're not within line of sight of another player or of the objectives. Now, your spawn is your first movement when you are spawning in. So if that's where I wanted to spawn, obviously I wouldn't put my marker on the board until the next round because I don't want to give away my position, but I would put my movement 1 there and then continue from that. So Ghost is going to get to move 1 space on his first movement. I am going to spawn in, and my first movement is my spawn. Next, let's talk about the sprint tokens. The sprint tokens allow you to move 2 spaces instead of 1, but if you get caught sprinting, you take a penalty on the track here. So if I wanted to get to the flag quicker, I might place my sprint token and place my movement 2 right there. So that's going to allow me to move quicker. But if Ghost gets within line of sight of my sprint token on movement 2 here, then we would enter combat and I would take a penalty for being caught sprinting. And the sprint token always faces the direction that the marker it's moving to is in. So I couldn't sprint facing this way and then run sideways down this track. The sprint token has to face that direction. And the number of sprint tokens you have are determined by your weapon. So the M4A1 has 2, the P90 has 3. It's a close combat, close quarters gun, so it's going to allow you to move quicker, shoot faster. Thematically, you're going to be able to run more with the P90 than you are with maybe a larger weapon. Next, let's take a look at ADS and how that works. ADS is aim down sight. It is again, you're aiming down your sight, you're setting up, you're looking down the scope, you're essentially sniping, you are lying in wait for the other players. So you can enter ADS on a turn or on a movement action that you haven't moved. So you can't move and immediately go into ADS. Let's say from here, I wanted to move here and go into ADS facing down this way because I think that Ghost is coming around this side. I could move here, and then on my third movement, I can stay put and enter ADS there. And then as long as I don't move, I stay in ADS. So I might keep my fourth movement under there. So I'm kind of camping, facing down that direction in ADS. And the benefit of ADS is it starts you higher on the track if you are on target. If Ghost comes around from this side, I get no benefit for being in ADS. But if Ghost comes down this way, then I do start higher on this track because I'm in ADS. As soon as you move, you immediately leave ADS, you lose the bonus for it. So ADS, you have to stop and enter ADS on your next movement. You can enter ADS on your first movement because that is where you were before. But again, as soon as you move out of that space or turn or make any change to your position, you're going to leave ADS and lose the bonus for it. Now, the last thing we need to talk about are tactics. In the advanced deck, you are going to have tactics that you can use. And relevant to what we just talked about, this tactic is move one space and gain ADS. So to use a tactic, you slot that into the turn you want to use it. So going back to the example we just had, if I wanted to use this tactic, I could use it here on move 2. I'm going to move one space and gain ADS. And then I use this card, I put it behind my screen to show that I'm using it, but I don't get to use it for combat. So using tactics can be really beneficial strategically, but they're gonna move through your cards faster. And if you're successful and you don't die, you're gonna have to reload sooner, which is good. So it's a balancing act of when to use those tactics, when you think you're sure that the other player is going to be where you think they're gonna be. It's just a balancing act of when you wanna use those cards. There are other tactics, and all of them are explained at the bottom of the card, but they are action specific. Some cards also have these kind of persistent actions. You do the same thing, you spend that card behind your player shield to show that you're using it, but it's not tied to a specific action, it's tied to the entire round. So if I wanted to sprint, but I thought that I might be likely to get caught, I could use this card to ignore the penalty on the first sprint this round. So the advanced deck adds a lot of different actions, a lot of different abilities that you can use just to vary up and add the strategy to your gameplay. Now, the last thing we need to talk about are recruits. Recruits are weaker allies that you can bring onto the map to help you out. They spawn in with you at the beginning of the game, and then if they're ever eliminated, they don't spawn back in until you do. So if you survive a few rounds, they're not going to spawn in until you spawn back in. Now, when they spawn in, they do follow the same rules. They can't be within line of sight of the objective or your opponent, but they spawn in and they have an arrow on them. The same line of sight, the same on-target rules apply to the recruits, and you map out their position on your map with this small token, and then that is their representation on the larger map once the planning is done and the round begins. Now, when a recruit enters battle, they're going to use their set card. It's a weaker card, and they are also going to use a 5 dice pool instead of a 7 dice pool. Now, if an operator eliminates a recruit, they do get a kill streak bonus, but they don't get a point for it. If a recruit eliminates a recruit, nothing happens. And if a recruit kills an operator, then the player whose recruit did that gets a kill streak bonus and a point, but you don't get a point for just killing a recruit. Now, at the end of the round, if the recruit survives, they move exactly one time following the same spawning rules. They can move anywhere on the map, but they move to one space and then they don't move again that round. Again, they can move anywhere that is not within line of sight of the objective or the other players. So in between rounds, I could move my recruit all the way over here if I wanted, but they only move one time in between rounds. And again, if they're eliminated, they spawn in when your main player spawns back in. Now, each player does have special abilities on their player board. Again, these may be changed up a little in the final version, but for instance, right now, Ghost gains 1 bonus on this track if an opponent is not facing you during battle. So in this scenario, Ghost would gain an additional bonus because I am facing that way. I'm not facing Ghost. So each player does have their own ability. And General Shepard's, we mentioned the Magnum pistol before. General Shepard has the Magnum pistol that you can use as an item card. And if you end up on the same space as another player, General Shepard can use the Magnum to deal 2 wounds to that player. So if we came around this corner here and ended up on the same spot, General Shepard has the Magnum. They can use that to deal 2 wounds to Ghost and have a little bit of a leg up when combat starts. So I believe that is all of the different elements of the game. That is all of the things that are going to come into play during the gameplay. Now with the items, you do have to pick one at the beginning of the game to use. You can use a dynamic loadout option where when you respawn, you can swap items, but otherwise you don't get to carry a proximity mine and a frag grenade. You have to choose the item that you're going to play with either through the whole game or again, using that dynamic loadout. When you're eliminated, you can swap items. Same with the Killstreak bonuses. You have to pick which one of those you want to use and which one you think is strategically going to suit you best during the game. So this is Call of Duty the board game. Again, this is an early demo prototype, so everything you have seen here is subject to change. But if you have any questions about the gameplay, if you have any questions about anything here, please let me know in the comments. I'm happy to answer those questions. I've had a ton of fun playing this game. It's been a real pleasure to get to play it, to get to do that tournament. The gameplay has changed drastically with different players playing and just their different play styles. Very similar to my experience with the video game. It's felt like a very good adaptation. Fast paced, it's quick resolution of combat. You respawn quickly. It's a good mix of fun, of strategy, of trying to track and predict where the other players are going to be, but also some luck and a good bit of chaos mixed in. So, Call of Duty the board game coming to Kickstarter soon from Arcane Wonders. We'll leave links below to where you can find all of the information about this game. And as our tournament series posts, we'll leave links in the description for that. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.